Hello and welcome to the Story Engine podcast. My name is Kyle Gray, and today we're going to talk about the difference between information versus clarity. One of the most important things I've been learning over the last year is the intention you bring to your sales process means a lot. And what I mean by that, if you are constantly trying to prove yourself to your prospect by giving them a bunch of information, by telling them how cool you are, by trying to force them into do something that you want, it's not going to work. Many people who are sophisticated in buying, and just most people in general, can see through these things. And because of that, a lot of us are afraid to even approach or consider sales or be seen as salesy because we've been traumatized by that in the past. Nobody wants to go on a sales call and feel pressured or pushed into something, have tactics or anything like that. And it seems pretty commonly understood that this is important in sales. But a lot of the time, I see this same activity happening that causes bad results in sales on the stage. The same core problem is there, but it shows up a little bit differently. When a salesperson isn't doing well, they're focusing on themselves. They're focusing on what they want and what they want to happen. In the same way, a speaker will often over-focus on themselves and what they want their audience to do and what information they think is important. And they're either doing this in a way to try and prove to the audience that they're smart enough or good enough, if there's any doubt, or they might just be so in love and immersed in their own expertise and knowledge that they've kind of lost grasp at what would be most valuable for their audience to hear. Either way, this creates the same effect that a bad sales call does. Your listeners, your prospects feel confused. They feel discouraged. They feel more distant from you because of these stories or because of how you are speaking. And the difference in how to speak comes down between giving information or creating clarity. So, like I said, many experts think that sharing the smartest or most information is what creates authority. And it's not just deep expertise. Sometimes it's a long resume of experience or list of achievements and happy clients. And often when an expert is thinking in this way of what's important to me, they think, how much information can I cram into these next 45 minutes or 30 minutes or however much time I have? And how can I give them enough information to prove to them that I'm an authority, enough information to show them that there's no other possibility than what I'm thinking? But a lot of the times, all the information that they provide ends up overwhelming people. They constantly have one more thing to add when they're creating. They have one more point in their talks when they're speaking. So they go long and end up confusing the audience with these irrelevant, irreverent tangents. And it's not getting the results that they want. Maybe it gets applause at the end of the show because the audience feels they got some good information, but they're not taking action. They're not standing up and volunteering to work with you. Your people want clarity, not information. And information is something that's additive. It's loud. It serves the speaker and tries to influence the listener. Information creates complexity. It creates more choices. It creates homework for you to do. Information needs to be processed and categorized and sorted through to make meaningful use of it. Information can create a short-term sugar rush in the mind, but it can make you feel good for your listeners to receive in the moment. But just like a sugar rush, it'll quickly fade away. It won't inspire lasting action or lasting change in your listeners. So when your listeners get too much information, they end up shutting down. They don't take the time to sort out the baby from the bathwater like you are hoping they will. And they move on to other thoughts, and they just add you to the long list of people and things that they are sure don't work. Not because the information was wrong, but because it was the wrong information. And it's really the last thing we need more of right now in a world with all of this AI, all of this noise. So what do we want instead? We want clarity. And clarity is subtractive. It's rare. It's quiet. Clarity is designed to serve the listener, not the speaker. Clarity focuses on understanding who the listener is, what they need in the moment. How can we remove barriers? How can we simplify possibilities and allow you to say no to everything else so you can say hell yes to the one thing that matters most? Clarity removes the need for more information. You don't need any more when you have clarity, and finally opens up the way for action. So how do we create clarity instead of blasting out more information in our messages? Instead of trying to give people all the information they need to do something that we really want to do as problem solvers and comes really natural to us, instead to think about what their limiting beliefs are around the problem. Why are they still stuck and what do they believe about it that's holding them back? And ask yourself, how can I remove the barriers? How can I create possibilities in the mind of our listener? This core shift changes the focus from how do I get what I want as a speaker or creator to how can I make an impact for my listeners? And your audience and you as well will feel the difference and you will see the results when you start speaking in this way. I had a client who used to do 2-hour webinars each week, jam-packed with information. His slides were full of data and he would write out ideas and strategies on a whiteboard for a long time. It seemed like he was getting out of breath when he was doing this. And for a lot of the time in the webinar and with the audience, it seemed like he was on fire. People were nodding, people were engaged. But at the end, he wasn't getting the conversions he wanted. And the process for presenting each week started to feel like a drag. Over the course of a few weeks and a few months, we started optimizing his presentation to create clarity instead of giving information. And that meant we took away a lot of the information and started to ask, what's the least amount of information I could provide to create a perspective shift? We cut down his talk to be less than 45 minutes. And he doesn't have to use a whiteboard anymore. And he ended up doubling his conversions from 15% to 30% when he presented. And every time he shows up, he has more fun. He gets to be more himself. He knows what enough information is so he can enjoy himself instead of constantly trying to think of the next thing to say to try and prove himself to the audience. And that's why clarity is so important for you to focus on in your presentations, because it creates freedom for you as a speaker. It creates authenticity for you as a speaker and much better results with your audience. So that's all we've got for the podcast today. I hope this has been useful. Please share this with one person who would find this valuable, and we'll see you next time on the Story Engine Podcast.